And welcome to another edition of Pitt Panther Talk. Mike Vakovcan. We're going to double team it here like we did last night with our story with Jamarius Burton. You know the guy to opposite box to me, the guru, Harry Paceros. And the guy below us, he's turning into the next guru, George Michalowski of Pittsburgh Sports Now. Readers of our site, we brought George aboard a few months ago, and you could as you've been following us with his basketball coverage. He's killing it. We're glad to have him aboard our team. And I got two guys here that know the game of basketball, especially recruiting. So, in light of what's happened the last couple of days with Pitt picking up two commitments in the last 48 plus hours, we figured we wanted to get some perspective on the latest addition to the Pitt Panthers. Gentlemen, welcome.
How you doing, Mike?
Thanks,
Hey, George. All right, Harry, let's start with you. Just get your perspective here. I saw some of your tweets. Pitt in the last 2 days have added a power forward, Dan Olapo, and Jamarius Burton. Just my take. The biggest thing that I watched highlights of these guys. I don't know a great deal about them aside from what I read and from some stuff that I've asked some people. But the biggest take that I take with these two are that Pitt added physicality. Is that would you agree with that?
Yeah, I like both players. I'm actually was very familiar with Jamarius Burton, so I can give you some background or later on him. I go back to the days when Pitt dominated in the old Big East, and I used to call us the bad boys of the Big East because of the physicality. First, let me say this to the fans listening. I know he's not a center. Neither of these guys are a center, but you need key pieces. It's about symmetry. It's about synergy on a team. So both are going to play a critical role. Oladapo and Burton are both physical plug-and-play players, which you need. Oladapo is going to essentially, it's going to be twofold. If Justin comes back, he's then a backup, which is still getting significant minutes, anywhere from the 3 to the 5 if they go real small in the lineup. When I say the 5, the center position. But I could see him still getting a lot of playing time because of his position versatility. Burton, and people are kind of overlooking this commitment. You needed a backup point guard. He's going to fill that role. Don't think of Texas Tech. That's an anomaly. And I can get into this guy's background after, so I'm going to let George talk. What he will do is back up Nike, and I think he's going to get some significant minutes sharing that position. And he also gives you, again, that position versatility, 1 through 3. He's 6'4", 210. And I think the perfect analogy was he's another Brad Wanamaker, and I think Pitt fans can relate to that style of play.
George?
I really agree with what you said, bringing up the old Big East teams with Pitt. You look at previously this year, people talk about Femi Okale, people talk about Champagny, grit, toughness, hardworking. That comes to mind right away. These guys are Bulldogs. Those guys are New York guys. And I think we're bringing in Pitt's bringing in 2 new guys that are just like that with Oladapo and Burton. I think one thing that people don't really realize about Oladapo, his numbers look decent when people were tweeting him out originally right after the commitment. He really heated up towards the end of last season. 15 points a game, more than 10 rebounds a game in conference play. 61% from the field in conference games. So he is no slouch. So even if Justin decides to leave, I think he'll play a big role, and he'll definitely have a bigger role and more openness on the court to get points up.
Yeah, I like the fact of they lost obviously some rebounding skill with Audice Tony, and this guy that was the first thing that Jeff Capel brought up when he formally introduced him. They got the signature today. Is he's a rebounder, and that's something that Pitt has just lacked. Tony did it well, but I think this guy could be better as far as that goes. And then he said he's I forget the adjective he used, but as far as he's a competent or something scorer, this guy's going to give you presence down low. And Harry, I want you to go upon, because I got multiple tweets, and I'm glad you're going to bring this up with Burton. Too many people were looking at his stat line last year with Texas Tech. I watched his highlights, and I know, highlight films are somewhat misleading because they're going to put all the good stuff on there. But his video, him scoring, I haven't seen a shooter like that at Pitt, just a pure shooter and a guy that controlled his highlights at Wichita State were just tremendous. Last year was an anomaly, right?
Correct. What you have to understand, this kid essentially has had nothing but bad luck. When he went to Wichita State, that program was in a downfall. It was there was bad chemistry on the team. The coaching staff was about to get ousted. When he left, there was a significant mass exodus. He wasn't the only one. So then he wanted a new home, and he goes to Texas Tech. Goes to Tech, and of course, and just an FYI for fans, Chris Beard is a very good coach. He just took over at the University of Texas. He knows how to find talent. So he was recruited by Chris Beard. COVID hits, and he had a subpar year. And I'll say this, he played a little bit more on the wing at Pitt. He's going to be playing a lot more at guard. And to your point, Mike, when he was there, I mean, he averaged 10 points, 10.3 points a game. 3.5 rebounds, 3.5 assists per game. Pitt wants Wichita State. They don't want Texas Tech. And again, he is a broad-shouldered, physical player from Charlotte. And when I say Charlotte, it's important. If you talk to anybody on the Pitt coaching staff or someone like an Andrew Slater that's a national guy, those Charlotte guys bring some New York toughness. This is a player that is won consistently throughout his career, led his team in high school with over 30 wins to a state championship. And he is a tough guy, like George said. I mean, this is a guy that's going to bring attitude. So it was an important commit. You have to kind of look past the transfers and look past Texas Tech and realize what you're getting. You needed that backup point guard. You just got it. And on top of that, you added a big physical guard to already go with a big backcourt. So it's going to be a nice piece to the team.
George, you're on social media as much as I am. You see the reaction of Pitt fans as far as, misses by the coaching staff, as far as guys they were interested in. And, the fan base was, when are we going to get, some guys to the roster? This eases their worries a little bit, right?
I think it has to, because the thing about these two commitments is nobody on Pitt Twitter, on Pitt message boards was really expecting these two to be our first two commitments at Pitt. A lot of people didn't see this coming. I mean, the names kind of came out of nowhere. Last night surprised a lot of people with Burton. So I think now people are kind of realizing that Jeff Capel and his staff, they know what they're doing. I mean, they're not, it's not that they don't have a plan. Some things just didn't go their way with the public recruitments, that guys were releasing top 5s, top 10 lists. I mean, but they know what they're doing. They're keeping it behind the scenes. Capel, since he's gotten to Pitt, everyone knows he's been quiet about his recruitment, about who he's going after, all that. So I think it definitely will put the minds and hearts of Pitt fans at ease for now. I mean, it was getting pretty restless with a lot of Pitt fans. I mean, people were worried, but landing these two guys and looking at the current roster with them on it, I mean, you combine their toughness, what we just talked about, with, the finesse of Sabande, with Femi Odekale, with perhaps Justin Champagny, all ACC player. I mean, it's definitely moving in the right direction.
Yeah, Harry, you know as well as anyone, when you lose, when fans see Pitt not getting guys, the negative starts as far as, they can't recruit. There's so many guys out there, and these guys weren't backup plans either, because college basketball recruiting now is just, it's different, and it's changed forever with the transfers. So every week guys could be entering, and they're new talents, and they might be better guys than, perhaps Pitt missed out on a month ago, as far as, missing out what fans think. These guys are still talented players, and there's too many guys out there for them to be worried about they're not going to be able to fill a very good roster next season.
Right. First, and George mentioned this earlier, and I need to clearly state this because I'm so tired of fans saying this. They have a plan. Every staff has a plan. Don't be buffoonish. When you think of Capel, you think of the years at Duke. He coached at a successful level. He has a plan. Second of all, it's a cesspool. We've entered free agency in college basketball. Hundreds of players have entered the portal. So what happens, and I in a sense, I feel for the staff. They're going to make contact. They vet every player. So contact is made. That doesn't mean there's an offer. That doesn't mean they're pursuing them. Fans internalize this. And I understand they want a successful team, but they internalize it. They flip in their mind that Pitt's after that player. The player goes elsewhere, or this happens. Trust me, they list Pitt because they want to try to lure other teams in, maybe close to where they live. I don't care where it's at. And the perception is a lost out. And I can't tell you, I could probably count 10 players where fans had said, there we go, we missed on him. We weren't even involved. So it's agonizing. On top of that, I'm going to add one more. Dick Vitale just tweeted about it today. It's become so bad. Teams are now projecting players that may enter the portal and basically are tampering with them, letting them know, hey, by the way, if you leave college X, come our way, we have an open position. So they're dealing with chaos. All these coaches are. It isn't just Pitt. I want to make sure to specify that. But please know that there is a plan. And Mike, you made a very valid point. It seems like for every power forward you may have missed on, 10 more enter into the transfer portal. And we're actually entering an age now where coaches are going to have to recruit their current roster plus additional players coming in. It's lunacy, but it's kind of life with college basketball right now. I'd hate to be a coach. It's crazy.
George, I think basketball, I've had contact with, coaches over the last year or two. I think college basketball forever recruiting has changed in that I think these coaches are basically coaching on 1 year, although technically these kids have 4-year scholarships. I think they're recruiting and setting up a roster on a year-to-year basis because you just never guys you think that are going to be here just might not be here. Or on the other half, maybe school X takes a flyer on a kid because they need a roster and then fill a roster spot. We'll see how he works out. And then after a year, they determine that it's just not a good fit. I just think for every year now, people can't panic when players transfer because it's going to happen from here on in now.
Right. It's virtually impossible to build a program around kids that you want to see develop in your program. Jeff Capel is trying. I mean, last year, his class, top 30 class in the country, William Jeffress, the list goes on. Max Modison, Noah Collier. Yeah. There were some talented guys, John Hughley, highly ranked guys, but you never know in this day and age how long those guys are going to stay. And if it's a case like William Jeffress, he had a great start to the season last year. Towards the end, started to play a little bit less. You never know what's going on in his mind where he thinks he can be the star. So it's a 4-year commitment, but not anymore. Not for these guys. They're signing with the schools. They know there's plenty of options out there with. I think over 1,400 players were in the portal the other day. It's becoming the popular thing to do is to be the guy at whatever school and listen to the coaches, the assistants recruiting you that you will be the guy. And that's not always going to be the case.
All right, Pitt got 2 guys in now, guys. Your take on they're not done because they still have at least 3-4 scholarships that they can hand out. And that's not counting what happens with Champagny and also John Hughley with situation is still pending legally. Where do you see, we'll start with you, Harry, here. What holes, obviously, I know everyone's going to look at the middle, but what other spots, how do you see potentially Jeff Capel and his staff filling at least a few roster spots?
I think right now, I actually like the backcourt that they put together. I know they're happy with their wings, and the staff likes Nate Santos that was added out of high school. Um, I'm looking and I'm thinking, and I think the fans will want to hear this. They got to go big. I mean, we're talking, I think of a traditional power forward. I guess Collier would fit into that, but you still need more. And obviously the center position. The one thing, I'll let fans know, I even laughed today. I had 5 to 6 responses. I put a tweet out last night that basically said, relax, just let the process work out. And fans are getting a hold of me going, they need bigs. And it's like, yeah, I know that. Both of you know that. The staff kind of knows that, believe it or not. So, I mean, it's mind blowing how many of these tweets I get. And so I obviously they need, I think 1 to 2 centers, Efton Reed being one they're pursuing. Are they pursuing others? Yes. I'm saying that into the camera. That seems to have flown right over the heads of other fans. They believe that they're putting all their eggs in one basket. They're not. But I'd like to see some size added at the 4. They'll add a wing. I believe they will add a wing. It has to be a very explosive player. I know they had a shot at Andre Hyatt. The problem, and fans need to understand this, and I like Hyatt as a player, but Hyatt wasn't, he's not as explosive and athletic as you want at the 3. Especially to compete in the Big East. He was almost like a 3-4. He could play power forward. They want someone that's explosive. So I could see him taking maybe one more wing if they're long and explosive. Definitely need help at power forward. And I think everybody knows we need a couple centers.
George, are there any guys out there you're on top of that as much as anyone? I assume you agree with Harry. Are there targets out there that you see that either in the class of 2021 or grad transfers that are not grad transfers, but guys that are in the transfer portal that that you see are still available?
Right. Just like Harry said, Pitt needs a center. Everyone knows they need a center. Pitt knows they need a center. But some of the guys other than Efton Reed, obviously the big priority right now, some guys I could see them going after. Pitt gave out an offer to a player named Bretner Mutombo, class of 2021 center, 6'10", 210 pounds from Chattanooga, Tennessee. And it's tough because if he comes in, he's not going to be the guy. He's ranked, 258th in the nation by 24/7 at his spot. He's not going to be the guy. I think Pitt's going to want to ideally get a transfer center, transfer big, and then maybe a high school big or another transfer big. But yeah, I talked to Bretner last week. He told me Jason Capel's been recruiting him since they offered him. They first contacted him when coronavirus started. They've been in touch every single week since then. So he has offers from Florida, Georgia, I think Auburn as well. But when I was talking to him, he was saying he's really only talking consistently with Milwaukee, Georgia State, and East Tennessee State right now. And then Pitt's contacting him every week. So I don't know how hard, like we said earlier, Pitt knows what they're doing. We don't necessarily. Nobody does other than the people in the office. I don't know how high up on Pitt's board he is, but potential option out of the high school class because he does have the offer. I mean, he's got the size. He will need to develop, though. He's a 3-star. I mean, but I would like to see him go after someone in the transfer portal. And
one guy that I was kind of hoping they would land was he was the guy that you were just referring to, George, is Soriano out of Fordham. He was a 6'10" guy, 240 plus. He's a guy that could step right in and play because he's done it at in the Atlantic 10. And he goes to St. John. Pitt was a finalist with him. He's about one of the few guys that I could say that that was they tried and they missed on that one, but that happens. But I do know that Pitt was actively recruiting him. Harry, you brought up last thing here before we end things. All eyes still are on Efton Reed. I'm not sure you have any insight on him as far as I still hear that it's not dead with Pitt yet by a long shot. And he's the guy that they need, whether or not he's a 1 or 2 year player. He would change the attitudes of a lot of people if Pitt was able to go in and swoop up him. And now it's just a matter of he was supposed to make a decision last weekend, last Friday, I believe, Thursday or Friday. Didn't make it, delayed. What do you know about that, Harry?
I definitely spoke to a really good source last night. The one thing I will tell fans, Pitt is very, very, very still much in the Efton Reed race. The primary players, in my opinion, are Florida State and Pitt, with North Carolina trying to venture into this kind of late in the game. Key point, no one, and I mean no one, has been recruiting Efton Reed longer than the Pitt staff. I trust me when I say this. They've gained the confidence with the Reed family. I think he's a young man that, it's a big decision. You are trying to entertain offers here or there. Florida State, what's odd to me is Florida State seems to grow 7-footers in a garden outside in the university. They seem to just pluck them out every year. There's multiple 7-footers on the team already. What Pitt offers that nobody else offers, even Carolina, playing time, 40 plus minutes a game. He could step in and take that rollover and grow with the team. So I still like Pitt's chances. I'm not saying we're a lock, Pitt's a lock at all, but they're really, really in it. They have a few key things: trust with the family and a lot of playing time and a starting position. No other school could say that at the moment. LSU, I think, was involved. Everybody knows about Will Wade. He kind of worries me, if you know what I mean, when it comes to recruiting upper level players. But I think it's going to be down to Florida State and Pitt, unless he was completely blown away with what Carolina has to offer. And it is a substantial legacy there, but I still think it's down to FSU and Pitt.
That would be a home run, right, George?
Right. I talked to Paul Biancardi of ESPN a few days ago about Efton, actually, and he was saying exactly what Harry was saying. Pitt's got on their side that he has a starting role right away. He's got minutes. He will be the guy inside for Pitt. And the playing time is there. And FSU offers different things. I mean, they do have had success, more success than Pitt, developing bigs in the last few years, 7-footers. But if Reed wants to play right away, if he wants to make his mark, big time conference, he'll play against Duke. Pitt's got the pitch. They know what to tell him.
One key point, though, Mike, and George mentioned it. I do believe, if anything, they are waiting on that decision. I'm not saying they're not recruiting other centers. They are. But, George just mentioned Mutombo or some of these others that are out there on the periphery. If Reed goes elsewhere, they're going to move quick, but they're waiting on that decision. So, hopefully it happens in their favor, and hopefully it happens soon.
Yep. We'll keep an eye on, I guess, his mother. Efton's not a big social media guy. His mother made the announcement that he planned on committing, and then she also put it out there that he wasn't committing. Trust me, we've been trying to get in touch with everyone in that camp. It's not easy, but when it does happen, you'll hear about it on Pittsburgh Sports Now. Hey, guys, I appreciate the time. It was good getting both of you guys together. We'll have to do this again soon.
Thanks, Mike.
Awesome. Appreciate it, Mike.
All right. For Harry, for George, I'm Mike Vakovkan. Another edition of Pitt Panther Talk here on Pittsburgh Sports Now.